Hello.
Hey, can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Okay.
Awesome.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing? Thank you so much for having me
Good.
on.
Thank you so much for joining. So, do you have anything you want to say before I ask you a couple of questions?
Nothing that comes to my mind. Get right into it.
Okay. So, first of all, I guess I'll start from the beginning. Like, what did you do before you started running? Like, did you do any other sports or you just kind of started running young?
Yeah, so I was like a big sports guy. I did basically every sport there is. I went from my first sport was probably soccer. And then I got into swimming and I quit soccer, but then I rejoined soccer really quick after and played soccer, basketball, swimming, did a little bit of tennis. A little bit of flag football, I think, for a year, and but my main two sports up until okay, sorry, I just went back there. My main two sports up until um running were swimming and soccer, and I kind of went between the two of
Mhm.
them in middle school. So yeah,
So, if you didn't run, you probably would have either stuck with soccer or swim.
yeah. If I didn't, ooh, that's a good question. If I didn't run, it would have been interesting to see which one I would have stuck with. I mean, I liked them both a lot. I liked to swim a lot, but the most thing that I liked the most about swim was my team. The sport itself was like I was kind of indifferent on, but my team that I was on, I really enjoyed. I enjoyed going to practice with them. Um, but I like soccer as well, so it'd have been interesting. But I'm glad I found running.
So, when did you end up running? Like, when did you start running?
So I started running in sixth grade. I was
Hmm.
gonna start running earlier, but I didn't really like know how would or what would be the best way to get into it. Um, and I ended up in sixth grade joining like a little local running club, like right in my neighborhood. So it kind of worked out well. And we did a couple races, and I started to enjoy it. And then I started doing more competitively. So
So, did you feel like you were naturally talented when you began running?
I didn't really know. There are a couple things like looking back on it that I guess I could have
Mhm.
said. Like I got my school record for like the pacer test. I mean, I guess that's kind of a big one. And like I got the elementary school record when I was in like third grade. And then I moved schools, so I never got to beat that one again. And I went to my other school, so I knew I was like kind of quick, but I didn't think I'd be um that naturally talented on it. But then I started doing like local 5Ks in my neighborhood just on Memorial Day. There was one, and there was this kid that ran cross country, and he is really good. He runs at Blessed Trinity now. His name's Timmy Cole, and he and his family convinced me and my mom. Like I would always like he would always crush me, but I would always be like a minute or two behind him, and be the next kid our age. And he eventually convinced me to join, to start running. And then after I started running, after a while, he convinced me to join Alpha Crush, which was the club team. So
Mhm.
yeah.
So, Alpha Crush was your first official team you joined?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say so. I had this like club that was right out in my neighborhood called Zero to Hero,
Hmm.
and it's still going. It's obviously it's run by this guy named Jay Spector, and he's a great coach, and it was a great way for me to get into it. But I really started like competitively training with Alpha Crush. There are a group of guys that were all they're all going into their senior year now, or some of them, the first wave of them just graduated, but I got to run with some really fast kids that were I don't know. They were great role models and good way to get into the sport. So,
So, you ran with Alpha Crush all through middle school, correct?
I did, yeah.
So then in eighth grade, I'm pretty sure, I don't know about your seventh grade year, but my brother and my good friend and a friend Luke Swank, I don't know if you remember him, but
Yeah, I
he
do.
would always like finish behind you and we would see you race a lot. But then going into like that eighth grade year, like did you have any like of a thought process of you wanting to win any state meets or anything like that?
So not really. I wasn't sure how I was gonna go. If I'm correct, in seventh grade, I won like the USATF like junior national thing, the
Hmm.
Georgia one. Not obviously not the actual national thing. And running against some good guys. So I was kind of like had that in the back of my head. I wanted to kind of repeat that again, but the bigger thing was that I just wanted to get faster like year after year. And it kind of like during COVID, I kind of just went out and ran. Like it kind of helped me a lot because I got bored and I just would go out my door and run. And like my neighborhood is a pretty hard place to run, so it got me in shape really quick. And like I started, like as I was getting faster in running, I was enjoying it more, and I was reading about the sport and kind of learning about it. So my kind of knowledge of the sport and my fitness improved all at the same time. And I came back for my 8th grade year, because COVID was 7th grade track season for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I came back in my 8th grade year in cross country, and I just, I remember like that was right when the dragonflies came out, and I remember I had a pair of dragonflies, and I was just like excited to race more than anything, having any idea in the back of my head about what I wanted to do. I just wanted to go and race because I knew I was in good shape, and I'd like really started to train, and it was a good year. I ended up in cross country season, I won state, and then same in track, and it was that's awesome to do.
Yeah.
It's super super rewarding, especially like I put in a ton of work that summer. So yeah.
So going into your freshman year, like you run for Marist, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So like they have a pretty good team. So was it fun like training with some of those guys?
Yeah, for sure. So the year before I came to Marist, there were these kids named Colin O'Reilly and Jalen Mallet, and they were two. I don't know if I pronounced those names right. I don't know Mallet, but sorry if I didn't. But um, like they were two really fast runners, and Colin was a 4:14 guy in the 1600, and then Jalen was a 1:54 guy, if I'm correct, at state he ran in the 800, and Colin was also like um 9:10, 9:08 in the 3200. So obviously like super good runners, way faster than anything I would have been thinking of in middle school. So just seeing them and like seeing um the potential that like you could have as a Marist runner was really cool. And then stepping onto the team my freshman year, I was like fortunate to have like such a great senior class my freshman year, and like the great group of role models. They're the coolest kids. I wish like we had that senior class every year. It was super fun to get to hang out with them over the summer, and obviously it's a big age gap between freshmen and seniors, so I wasn't like the best friends with them, but I at least like got to hang out with them during practices and like training camps that we did, and it was like yeah, they also were really fast, so it was good to push me in, but it was also a great like introduction to the social aspect of the sport was I think the biggest thing, and that's the main difference between like middle school and high school is like I had a great team in middle school, and we were all friends, but it wasn't like the team like Marist is. It's kind of like yeah, it's just different.
So as you're in high school right now, what is like your weekly mileage and like training looking like?
Yeah, so guess like I'll start like with a little bit of background in middle school, just like 8th grade middle school. I got up to like 45 miles peak in middle school, which is a good bit. Like that was like signed up for a Bowerman Track Club training camp that was a high school thing over COVID, and I've been running like 15 or 20 miles a week, and they put me on like 45 miles a week, and I did 45 one week, and it was good. Like I didn't get hurt, fortunately, because that's it was very likely that I got hurt doing that. It was a kind of a not good idea, but I didn't really know. That was before I had learned about the sport, and but then I fell back after that. So going into my freshman year, I kind of had the expectation that I really wanted to up that a lot. And because, like as you get older, more mileage. But as I sat down with my coaches, we kind of talked through and realized that like that's not the most important thing. And although like mileage does like really help, like I'll get to this year. And I got a little story about that. Like mileage does like really help with your running. It's definitely like not the most important thing, and the most like freshman year in relativity does not matter as much as sophomore year, does not matter as much as junior and senior, and then on into college if I run in college. Like we're really looking for a progression. So I didn't do that many more. I think I peaked at 50 my freshman year. But again, that was like 1 week kind of thing. Like generally I was sitting in the 45 range. And then that's freshman cross country, and freshman track I might have even done lower, like 45 is my peak, but maybe like 48. So kind of still similar to middle school mileage, a good bit more, but not too much more. And then this past summer, I got up to, I think my max was 55, before cross country sophomore year. And it was good. I love running. So the more the miles, like the better I feel. Like I like doing more miles, but you got to hold it back sometimes so you can be good down the road, or not be good down the road. There's nothing saying that like doing mileage at a young age doesn't translate to doing mileage at an old age. It's just for me, like my goal is to kind of keep it in that range where you bump it up maybe like 5 miles per year. And that's kind of something that we've decided on. Like if you go run like 40 miles a week as an eighth grader and like 60 as a freshman, like I think that's a lot, but I don't know. I wouldn't say that person's going to burn out as they use a lot. Like there's definitely ways to improve, many different ways to improve. So, but then, yep, this past cross country season leading up to my sophomore year, I did like 40 or 55 miles max. And then track season, I think I maxed out at 50 or maybe even 45 because I didn't have much time to build up because I got hurt at the beginning of the year. I fell running down a hill. And that put me out for way longer than I would have liked. But that caused me to not get my mileage up as much. And going back to what I said earlier, like the mileage I think does definitely make a difference in like aerobic strength. Like some people do really low mileage. I know Cole Hawker, like rumored, I don't really know if this is true. I've just heard it from other people. It does like 35 miles a week. And I mean, that's tough. I mean, when I was on like 35 miles a week at the beginning of the track season, I felt like I would die anytime I ran over like 2 miles in a hard effort or something. Like my aerobic shape just wasn't there. And that's why I didn't get in as many or as fast of a 2 miles I would have liked. I still ended up running 9:10, which is beyond what I would have liked looking from it last year. Like from freshman year, if you would have said I ran 9:10 as a sophomore, I would have been like blown away with that. But so I guess in the end, I'm happy with it. But yeah, so that's my.
Then in the mile, you got down to 4:08 this year, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, did you end up running that at Running Lane?
I did. So I'd run. So like I said at the beginning, okay, so we'll start back in cross country season. Each year we do a track, cross country state team time trial. And we just, pretty simple, 10 days before state, we go out and run a mile on the track. It kind of means nothing, but it's kind of like a last hard effort before state. It's kind of tradition that we do. And it's a 1600 though, not a mile. So I ended up in that running 4:13, which like would have been 14-second PR for me on like some random Friday night. It may not have been Friday, but like 10 days before state. Just with nobody else there. Obviously, there were my teammates there, but just like 7 or 8 of us out on the track, and some of us were sick, so I actually had a gap between me and like second place, like 40 seconds, 30 seconds, I think, but no, it wasn't that much. But there was a gap, so I was kind of running alone, and I was like, that blew me away. Like I've watched all those seniors last year when I was a freshman, like Matthew Fernando and Ethan Ashley and the Blaha brothers or twins, and there's others as well. All those kids were running like 4:11s, 4:10s, 4:12s, and just to even be close to them, I was like, that blew me away. And so with that time going into track season, I had pretty high expectations, and I feel like I was in really good shape, like right as the season was starting, towards the end of indoor season, for like a reference in time. I don't remember the exact date. And I was running down my hill or this hill, and we were on an easy run actually. It wasn't even like a workout. And there's a series of bushes coming up, and there's just kind of miscommunication between me and this other kid on my team. I was trying to go around him before the bushes, and he was trying to go around me so I could tuck in behind him before the bushes. And I hit a bush and fell on my hip and tore it and messed up my hip flexor. But that happens. Like there's nothing, looking back on it, like I don't know, I probably couldn't have prevented that one. So I mean, you got to take that and run with it. But
while you were injured, did you do any
yeah.
cross training while injured?
Yeah, so I in my basement I have an elliptical, and I probably swam way too much, I probably pushed that elliptical to its limits. I did that a lot of elliptical, a lot of strength work. I went to a PT a bunch, and then also like a massage therapist, which are two things I had never done before. It's kind of interesting to see that side of running, the recovery side and the strength training side. Probably helped me further down the line a lot more than I know. So it's good to get an introduction to it now, even though I didn't want to get injured. But so I came back from the injury. Yeah, I did do a lot of cross training. I did swimming as well, throw in there.
Yeah.
But the main two things I did was elliptical and then strength training, like not like weights, but like all body weight exercises. So, and then I came back at the end of my first meet was, well, I actually had my first meet. I did a 4x8 with my team at the Gale Devers, I think it was. I can't remember though. I think it was Gale Devers. And we messed up the baton handoff and I fell and re-injured the same hip and was out for 2 more weeks. So that's pretty unfortunate. Yeah, I'm not too great at baton handoffs, but that's why they put me on anchor leg in like every single other race, so I don't have the opportunity to hand it off to someone and mess it up again. So, yeah, a little inside story on that, but, um, and then, so I opened in an individual event in like 3 weeks later because I got injured and then I got sick a week after that. And it was like already like 7 weeks till state. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this season's like, I'm cutting it close or something like that. It was some number that was way lower than I wanted it to be. And, I raced Joseph Hone in my first race back, which is never the best situation to race him when you're fully healthy and fully running fast, but especially not coming back from injury. But on the contrary, I was able to sit off him for 3 laps. Thank you, Joe, for letting me sit off you. It's kind of like, I don't like to do that. I don't like to really sit the whole race, but it's kind of how it ended up going. And, I sat off him and I ended up running 4:13, but like half a second faster than I did in cross country. So I was like, man, like I literally hadn't had any training for like a good solid. I had a week of training before that. And even in that week of training, I was kind of sick and going in and out of training. So I was super pumped with that. But then I feel like for some reason or another, once I started training, my fitness kind of took a hit and I went and like it was kind of getting into the state season. And to be honest, I was getting really nervous about state. Like whenever someone would bring up state, I was pretty nervous about it. I really wanted to win, the 1600 especially. That was the one I wanted to win. Cause there's like such a competitive group of kids. You had Drew Moore and Andrew Below and Sumner Kirsch, and Drew Moore ran 4:13 if I'm correct, or 4:12 indoors. Andrew Below ran 4:11 against Joe and at some Marietta meet, and Sumner Kirsch had run 4:12, and I was like all right, like these guys are fast. Like if I could pull this off, that'd be like super cool. So I went into regions. So it goes region, section, state for the state series, and I got to regions, and I'd done a pretty good block of training, but I was still pretty nervous, and kind of like out of nervousness, I was like, all right, I want to run a really fast 1600 and like get to the point where I can go into state confident and not like super stressed out about it. And I ran really bad. Like I ran all out. It was a good race. Like nothing happened that should have made me run slow. I just wasn't fit on the day. And I ran like 4:19, and it was like, man, like there's like 3 weeks till state, 4 weeks till state. And I was like, this is going to be like a grind. So I tried my hardest. I did everything I could. I got through. I didn't run a fast race at sections. We kind of just got through. We had a really competitive section. It took like 4:20 to get through, 4:22. So I made sure to stay ahead on both of those and just kind of sit and kick at the end. So I did not qualify. You always got to make it to state before you run state, you know. But there are kids that every year there's, especially with relays, there are teams that, you know, let up on their relays and don't make it, and they're the favorites to win state. So even though I wasn't the favorite to win state, I still did not want to not make it. But so I went into state, and in my mind, I was in 4:12 shape, probably in the 1600, and I thought I was actually in better 3200 shape, but I kind of sat down and was like, I don't know. But the first day of state's an interesting story. And if you don't mind me telling the story of state, it's kind of up and down.
Tell away.
So on the first day, we got there, and the 4x8 was that night. We didn't go a day early, just because we had school the day earlier. And So we got to state, and we get there. We're all super pumped up. And a little bit of background on my team. We have Liam Hanneman, who's a 154 guy now, but at the time he was a 155 guy in the 800. So super fast. He's my age. He's a sophomore, or going into his junior year now. We have Ian Gaffney, who is a junior. He'll be going into his senior year this year. He's run 155 as well. That's still his PR because he didn't run much postseason. And then we have this kid named Jude Patton, who improved like a lot this year and run from like 208 last year, I think, to 203 this year. And then me, and I've run 158 in the 800, but I've split 155 in a relay. I'd split 155 in a relay before state. So we were going in, and there's like, since I've gotten to Marist, we've kind of not done well on the team aspect. So 4x8 freshman year, we lost and we should have won. Cross country freshman year, team wise, we lost and we should have won. Cross country this year, we shouldn't have won, but we wanted to win and we lost. And then the 4x8 this year, on paper, we should have won, especially because Drew Moore wasn't even running for Etowah, and then Etowah crushed us. I lost. I was ahead, and then Andrew Below, who won state, he's Georgia commit, awesome guy, really fast, faster than me, especially in the 8. And he got me. He got the baton like half a second behind me, and sat on me for 600, and then went. And he just has crazy speed. I couldn't respond to it. He ran a great race, but I was pretty mad about it, like about my race, because I wanted to win that really bad, and I feel like since I've gotten to Marist, we haven't put together a team race in state, so that was kind of a bad feeling, and I was really upset about that. So going into the 3200 the next day, it was that afternoon. I was like, before state, I really wanted to run it hard, but I was kind of debating like chilling, and my head wasn't right there, and I was kind of mad about that race, which I shouldn't have been that mad. We got our school record. We were in 8:50, 7:55 in a 4x8, which is super good. It's just we didn't do it. We were one.
Jacobs.
What?
It's still slower than Jacobs 2 miles straight, which is crazy.
He's crazy. Jakob is the best. He's very fast. But yeah, we ran slower than Jacobs. That's a way to think about it. I didn't know that at the time, but that would have made me feel even worse. But yeah, so I was upset about it. Probably not rightfully so. I shouldn't have been that upset, but I was. And I really wanted to win that. And so I kind of was all a mess going into the 3200 mentally. And then we got off, and there's a little bit of pushing and shoving in the race. And I kind of mentally just was all right, whatever, and just kind of slowed down a bunch. And not a good decision, but I let him get a little bit on me. And Connor Profit, he had an amazing race. He didn't do what he did. We were kind of both pushing at each other a little bit. But he's a very nice kid. And I'm not saying anything bad about him at all. He ran a great race. The race is to win, and he definitely he did it as best as possible as he could win. And his strategy definitely worked. He dropped me with 800 to go, which is maybe even more than that, 1K to go, which is a position you never want to be in. And coming through the last 400, I was all right, I can't lose this. I gotta win. And so I found something extra, and I closed in a 60 lax lap, which is all right, but it was enough to catch him. He ran a great race. He PR'd by Connor Profit. He PR'd by 10 seconds. So, in a non-ideal race too. We were surging and stuff. So he's a very fast runner. It'll be interesting. He's returning, so it'll be interesting to see. I gotta come up with something to beat him again next year, because he's gonna be really good. But yeah, so I was happy. It helped me so much that I was able to get the win there. And mentally, I kind of came back, and I was all right, cool, I did it. On to the 1600. I've been thinking about this since last year, and I knew what I had to do. And I actually was trying to run a fast race. So Liam and I decided before the race that Andrew Blow obviously had a great kick, and Sumner Kirsch probably had a great kick. That's what we assumed, because he was a fast 800 kid. And who knows? Like if you take three guys that run 4:11 to 4:13, and you put them in the race and they're going really fast, one of those three guys is probably going to win. But if you put them in a race where they're going like 5 flat pace for the whole race and then it's a sprint the last lap, like it's possible that one of them won't win. And John Jessup from Gainesville actually got second, and he beat Sumner and Andrew Below, which is like an example of that. Like he's very fast, but he's not a like 4:11 kid like Andrew Below. And so we kind of on accident made a stick and kick race and let a lot more people into the race than I would have liked. I was trying to push the pace for the first 2 laps, but I felt so tired. And I fell back. I was super boxed in with a lap to go. I was probably like 2 seconds off the lead. That's not true. A second off the lead maybe. And then Andrew Below made his move, and I don't know. I don't even know what happened, but with 300 to go, I just kind of like took off, and I split like a 40 for the last 300 and a 55 for the last lap. So, I mean, that's amazing. I remember like always watching like Justin Wachtel kick down people.
Yeah.
Kind of felt like him in the moment. Although Justin Wachtel closes in a 55 last lap to run 4:08 in the mile, and I close in 55 to run like 4:17, so a little bit different there. But yeah, it was a good feeling, and to get the win over Andrew and Sumner and all those kids that were in that race, it was just a great feeling. And Liam too. I mean, Liam is going to be one of the fastest kids in the state, if not the fastest kid in the state, very soon. Like he'll next year, and he already is one of the fastest kids in the state. He was in great shape in that race for the mile. He just didn't put it together on the day, which happens. And he still ran well. He got like 8th at state, coming off a PR of like 4:40 last year, 4:45. To go from that to what he is this year is great. We were hoping for a little bit better, like 1 through 2 score, but he bounced back and ran a 1:54.800 at running lane, so he wasn't upset about it either. I'm talking like this, but I think Liam's going to be really fast is what I'm trying to say. He's going to be one to watch. So yeah, that was state.
And then did you do any other postseason meets besides running lane? Or did you just...
I went to Wingfoot Night of Champs. That's a big one. I've always watched people, I've always gone and watched that since I was pretty little. When they had the Wingfoot Mile, I went and watched that. Obviously that's not the same, but then they started having Wingfoot Night of Champs when I was in 8th grade, and I went and watched that with a kid named Reed Latimer, who runs at Lambert now. And I remember watching like Justin and the slowly kick. It's pretty cool. That was a good moment to be there to watch that race. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah, I have.
Or not slowly, Justin and Kamari. And yeah, it was a crazy race. But like, there's a lot of history to the race, even though it's been going on for not that long. And I feel like that's kind of one that every year you gotta go to, and they put on a great event. So I ran 4:11 for a full mile there, but I didn't really warm up at all because they moved our race we ended up starting when we were supposed to, but they told us to line up like 35 minutes before our race and held us and brought us out to the track really early, and then just like had us stand there. And like I was like doing drills on the infield a little bit, but like really no warm up. I had to when they called us over, I like ran and grabbed my singlet, and like I like ran to the bathroom, and like I didn't even have my half tights on. I wasn't even going to wear either of the things that I wore. I just like had them in the bottom of my bag from a workout or something that we did. And so I just grabbed the first thing I could find and was like scrambling, and it ended up being a pretty cool USA kit, so that worked out. But I ran that race and I was really happy with it, especially with the conditions, and I led the whole thing. I've never really run a race where I led from like start to finish, except in high school. Maybe a couple, but it's always a fun feeling when you go out and you just like push yourself like that. And I was running against pretty good runners as well, and so it was a good feeling. And I knew I had a little bit more in me though, and I was so stressed because I was 0.04 seconds off what it would take to get in the fast heat and running lane. and I really wanted to get in the fast heat and running lane. So I like called and like did everything that I could to talk to the
Mhm.
talk to the what's it called meet director and all that, and my coach was emailing them too, and they put me in. And the fast heat, we like sent him videos of me
Yeah.
racing, and we're like, he led the whole thing and ran a 10.04, like please give him an extra 0.05 seconds or whatever. Because that's the cutoff was 4:09. And they bummed me up into the fast heat, and even though they like messed up me on the introductions, they just skipped me and stuff.
I
So
know. We were
yeah,
standing there. We were like, wait, where's Tommy?
yeah,
Like,
but yeah, that's probably because I wasn't really in the race. I don't know why, but they didn't have like when I got there, like they didn't have any. They tell you if you're in Heat 1 to go over to this like different tent, and they didn't
mhm.
have my name on that or anything. But like, so they had to like look in the system and all that, and yeah, so it was a little bit hectic at the start, but I got my way in, and I ended up holding my own. I finished like fifth in the heat. Ben Berge obviously had
Yeah, he
amazing
had
race. He's
race.
he's one of the runners. My first ever race, he won that race. Like when
Oh,
I was in middle school and I ran with 0 to hero for the first time, I raced him, and he won the race. And I was like, man, this kid's fast. So I've been watching him for a while. He hadn't had some great. He had some great times in the year, but I knew he was like gonna do something crazy. I did not know he was gonna run that fast. So that was
mhm.
cool to see. But hey, do you mind real quick if I get a charger for my phone? Actually,
Oh, I may need to charge it too, actually, real quick.
they're like
So,
1%. So
okay.
I'll be right back. Cool. Now let's see. Hopefully I can get this plugged in before it dies. That'd be bad. Is it charging? Okay, it's charging. Cool. Can you still hear me all right?
Yeah, trying to
Cool.
see if my phone will stand up with the charger now.
Oh yeah, it's difficult.
Okay.
Nice. So yeah, it Ben Berge ran amazing. He's a
Mhm.
super kid, and it's good to see him. Good to see him have like a fast time. I know he really wanted that. He'd been searching for it the whole year, winning races, finally back in shape after like really being sick and injured in cross country season. So like watching him in Heat 2 warming up, because he was in the fast heat and then they
Yeah.
moved him down to the slow heat like at right before the race. So that was, I mean, that's tough for him, but he went out and proved them wrong. And then I held my own in my heat. I think there were like, I don't know how many kids, 15, over 15, I think.
Yeah.
And I held my own. I got fifth in that heat, and beat some kids from. I beat this one kid from Baylor Christian, which is, if
Mhm.
I'm correct, I probably sound like really stupid if I say this and it's wrong, but if I'm correct, that's where Cole Sprout went. And so I was like, no way. And it's just the kid that I beat to was really fast, and seeing Devin Kipiego run, like getting to
Yeah.
watch pace lights at 4 flat pace was kind of cool. It was a great
Mhm.
atmosphere, and an easy way to run fast is a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, we were kind of disappointed to see that they didn't pace it at 3:59 because we wanted to see a sub 4 mile, but it
Yeah.
was still a really great race to watch. And also like going back to like cross country season, you managed to go sub 16 at every meet, right?
I did. Yeah. Yeah. It's a good
Like,
thing to bring up. I was keeping track of that stat. I
yeah,
really wanted that at
'cause
state. I realized like this was going to be my last one, and
mhm.
I had to get it under 16. So yeah, it's good to bring that up.
So I remember like on Strava maybe, like it like said on states, like, and I was so shocked anyone broke 16 because like that's a very tough course at states. So when I saw like you did it, I was like, that's insane. And like, how
Yeah.
did you end up like pacing for that? Because that's a really hilly course.
So I'm gonna be like unpopular when I say this, but I really
Mhm.
like the Carrollton course, but not because it's a good course. To be honest, it's really not a good course. but like I've run it so many times, I feel like since middle school that I kind of like have an advantage almost. Probably like, I mean, I guess it's fair, but like I know where the hills are and where the downhills are and where how to surge them. And I think like the biggest thing, if I were to tell someone how to run Carrollton, is that the hills that people talk about that are really bad, like what's it called, separation slope, and the one hill like by after the first mile and like by the start line that goes up there, like right before you finish and like you go up it like multiple different ways. Like those hills aren't the bad ones. I think the worst hill is after you come through for the second lap and you're going up that really long hill for the second time. And that's just like brutal because it's like by that point the race is separated. Everybody's like calm down. There's nobody there watching. So it's just like dead silent. You kind of like hear your own breath kind of thing. And, if there are people with you, they're all like dying and like everybody's like thinking the same thing. And if there aren't people with you, then it's even worse because you're just kind of like how far behind are they, or like how like what's the situation looking like, and am I
Yeah.
going fast? And like I think I was able to really control it this year. I at state I went up separation slope and I got a like 10-meter lead. Off separation slope. It's kind of like the name. I separated separation slope. Pretty cool. And I've figured that I didn't want to let them get back in the race. Like I felt like if they caught up to me and I slowed down or kept going the same pace and allowed them to catch up to me, then it'd give them like an extra boost of confidence that like I didn't think was necessary for me to give them. Like I felt like if I put a surge in and went right then, that I would be better off at the end of the race because like definitely mental strength during a race is a big part of it. And sometimes like you can't control it. Sometimes other people control it. And I felt like if I surged there, I'd just kind of break them, and it was risky, but it ended up working out. So when I got to that hill going up after the first lap, I was in my surge, but by the time I got to the top of it, I was dying. And I was like, I'd run the course. I knew how much is left. I knew it's not easy towards the finish.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, like I gotta win state. I'm so close. I looked back and it was a big lead. I don't remember how much, but I have a memory of turn the corner. Whenever I turn a corner in any race, I look back, which is not a good habit. But I looked back and was like, got a little bit to go. I got to make it there. And I wasn't thinking as much about the sub 16 during the race. I was before and after, but not during. I was kind of just trying to get there. Drew Moore and Andrew Below are two really good runners. Really good. I I was super scared. I knew if I had a bad day, they'd just swallow me up so quick. Like it wouldn't have been even close. If one of us had a bad day, you're just out of it. I couldn't have had a bad day and still won that race against such good runners. So I put a surge in and I kind of cruised down the hill and kind of kept the gap as much as it was. I tried to not let them gain any ground because, like I said, like you don't want them. Like as soon as someone starts gaining, like they're gonna feel better and they're gonna get like, oh my gosh, like I can catch them, and they're gonna like just mentally be there, and then you're gonna see them gaining, you're gonna break down and stuff. So I knew I had to at least keep the gap, and I did, but it was enough for me to save enough energy, and I finished it out. I ended up winning by 20 seconds or so. So pretty solid, but the race was a lot closer than, the time suggests. It was just kind of one big move by me, and then they actually probably caught me in the last mile, but just I'd put such a big move in that it wasn't enough. So, and the sub 16 was awesome. That's pretty cool. I love watching the races, like especially when I was younger. I loved going to high school races and watching, and sub 16 on Carrollton was always super big. Obviously, Kamari makes it look really small with his like 15:30 or 15:29 or something like that. I don't even know. It's but Kamari's Kamari, so it's big to break 16.
So this is a bit like different than just normal questions, I guess. It's gonna be kind of like a would you rather and like rapid fire questions.
Alright.
So like first one's gonna be like pretty like big difference, like Nike or Adidas, like the two main rival brands, I feel like.
Nike all the way.
I
I
had a
love Nike.
feeling that from the t-shirt.
Yeah, I love Nike. I've been running in Nikes
Mhm.
ever since the beginning. My first running shoes, Nikes. Pegasus 34s probably, maybe 35s. Pegasus is Pegasus 35 and 36 are the two best shoes
Yeah.
ever. I still run in them every once in a while. I have a pair that I ran in 8th grade, and I still like put them on. I wore them today in my easy run. So it
Mhm.
I love those shoes. I'm a Nike guy for sure. Dragonflies all the way. But Adidas is still a great company. Like it's not like I don't wear Adidas or whatever. Adidas is super cool, but I have
So
a
this
bunch.
is so this is a similar one. New generation track and field or Tin Man Elite?
New gen. I like
New gen.
both. I like the Timon guys for sure. We when I was out in Colorado, I saw them and we saw them working out, and that was just kind of they were going so fast. It gave me a lot of appreciation for what they do. I mean, they get a lot of hate, the Timon guys, for various things. So does every pro runner, but Timon guys do especially, or I hear about them a lot more. Maybe that's just me, but like they were out there and they were hammering and they were going so hard. They were
Mhm.
flying by us and we were flying. So it gave me a lot of appreciation for them. Um, and they were also nice people too. We got to talk to them after the
Yeah.
race and they were super, super nice guys. But I like new gen. I like the old new gen too. If
That's
I
what I
can,
was about to ask you. Old new
yeah,
gen or the new gen? Like old, like
I
being
like
like
Ben
super
Crawford.
tier.
Ben Crawford.
Yeah,
I like
no
when it
Ben.
was called Ben Crawford. But the
Uh-huh.
new gen is more like I think suited to help
It's
like
like
the
an
high school
actual
running team.
team, I feel
Yeah,
like
yeah,
where they're racing as a team.
it's more suited to help. They promote like the high school races and stuff,
Uh-huh.
and so it's kind of cool to see that. But the old new gen was that's like those videos are like a certain like I associate those videos with a certain part of like my running career. Like I'd wake up like and like have to go for a run and not want to go for a run, and then like you'd see that Ben Crawford like released like Oregon Long Run, and like that
Hmm.
video is like the best video ever on YouTube, which is not true, but that's a cool feeling. I love those videos.
One of the earliest running memories I have, like anything to do with running, is engraved into my mind. It's like the Oregon long run, and it's Cooper Tier drinking chocolate milk after the long run, and that's just
Yeah,
engraved in my mind. I don't know why, but
yeah. So
and
when I
then,
was in Oregon, you go
hmm
ahead.
no, it's fine. You can go.
So when I was in Oregon, like in 8th grade, actually, I found like I spent an hour. It was a lot easier than I thought, but I did it the hard way. I was looking at the video and like looking
Hmm.
at places in Oregon to see what matched the description. And I took like an hour and I found it. It was Dexter Reservoir. But I didn't even realize it says it in the video. Like I was such an idiot. Like I don't know what I was thinking, but I spent so long trying to find this place and it said it in the video. But I found it and I went and
Yeah.
ran with my dad there and there's like a super cool video of my dad and I running that my grandmother took when we were there. And that's one of it was awesome. It was just as cool as it looks. Maybe probably even cooler.
Okay, so next one is track or cross country.
So that's a good question. It's a very good question. Obviously I hear it a lot. Like everybody talks
Yeah,
about
everyone's like, which one do you like better? But,
I like cross country. But like I like
hmm
cross country more, but almost for like different reasons. I feel like in cross country the team's more involved. Like the team aspect
Yeah.
really comes. Like especially at Marist, like our team culture that we have is really good. Like even on JV, and like the kids all care about running, and like just like every team, there's kids that don't do their easy runs or walk on easy runs, but like those same kids that walk on easy runs, don't like come back and like leave. Like they come back and like still talk with everybody and hang out, and like so like even if there's still the typical like JV cross country stuff going on, it's
Yeah.
like it's still like a good like community of kids, and every kid on the team really is friends with each other, so we all hang out with each other. Which is really cool. So I love that part. In track, it's not the same, but I like track as in like it's just track. It's what you see in the Olympics. So it's kind of
Hmm.
like it's more of a view. It's like more of a common thing, I guess, and it's more of a
More
something.
spectator friendly too, because like you can see them
Yeah,
the entire time while they're running.
yeah, and it's like the reason so many kids play football now is because they watch football on TV. So like
Yeah.
it's because it's inspiring, right? It's inspiring to go watch someone on TV and you think it's pretty cool, and like there are cross country races on TV like once every year, maybe once every
Hmm.
2 years, maybe. So there is track on um every once in a while. You have to look to find it. But Peacock has a bunch of track meets that I watch, so it's kind of cool to like watch someone do something and then try to do it as best as you can yourself. So I like that aspect of track, but the whole like team atmosphere, like showing up to the meet at like 5:30 in the morning and warming up for one single race is so awesome in cross country. So the long
Okay.
answer to an easy question, but
So the next one is in high school, would you rather go sub 840 or sub 4 in the mile? And do you think either of those are possible for you by your senior year?
sub four for sure. I'd much rather go sub four.
Yeah.
Sub four is the biggest running accomplishment that you can get
Hmm.
other than like Olympic gold. In my opinion, like no matter what people are saying about like it's not even a big deal to break four anymore, it is. Sub four.
This is still a big deal. Less
Yeah,
than 2,000
I don't
people have
care if
done it, I think.
10 high schoolers are doing it a
Hmm.
year. Like it's still only 10 high schoolers a year are doing it, and it's still such a big deal, such a milestone. Has been for years, for a long, long time. So I would like to break four. Breaking four myself, I don't know. I'd have to have a really good next 2 years. And obviously, like it's a long, long way to go. Even though I ran 4:08 in a mile, I mean that's a long way to progress. It just gets so
Yeah.
quick. Like to run 3 or 4 back-to-back 59 points, like highs or whatever, to break it is just so ridiculous. Like I ran, I mean I saw the pace lights when I was at running lane. They were right at 4 flat, and I mean they caught me after like 100 meters. So
Hmm.
it's a totally different pace. When you get down that low, it's so much faster. The improvements are so much harder to get. And so I think I would like to break four, obviously, just like
Yeah.
any kid in the country. Hopefully every kid in the country wants to break four if they run distance track. If you don't, I don't know why you wouldn't, but it's if it's in, hopefully it's in the cards for me, but it's going to take a lot of work to get there. Sub 840, I think I would definitely like to try to get that one by the end of high school. Like, although that's insanely fast. I mean,
Yeah.
ridiculous. I think if I got together, especially in Arcadia, like senior year, if I go out
Hmm.
there and I'm having like a good training block, I think that's probably more likely than sub four, I'd say. Although both of them are still ridiculously fast, and I'd have to continue to improve a lot over the next 2 years.
Okay, so if you could steal a world record, would you rather steal Jakob's 2 mile or Eliud Kipchoge's marathon?
So kind of a weird answer to this question is Jakob's 2 mile because I would not want to run a marathon. Um,
Hmm.
Running a marathon would be brutal, but
Yeah.
Kipchoge is like the guy. So
Hmm.
I would rather still Jakob's 2 mile, but I
Yeah.
respect much more. No offense to Jakob, obviously, but I'd respect much more Kipchoge's marathon. So
Uh-huh.
I training for a marathon is brutal. Like that's something that if I ever do, I've probably gone insane. I could see myself going 10K on the track. I love running laps around the track. It's like even like doing like 6 miles on the track. I don't really mind that. But running a marathon is like putting in 120-mile weeks and maybe more. Some guys go up to 140, 150. It's the stuff that you do, the pace that they're running at is ridiculous. So
Yeah.
it I have a lot of respect for that record, but much more much more realistically, I'd like Jakob's record. It's so fast though, both of them.
Okay, so after college, do you hope to go pro in running if you do end up having a good college career?
I mean, if I have a good college career, I would love to go pro. Obviously, there's um, some downsides to going pro in a sport like running is that the
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
Um, But I'd have to get that worked out, obviously. But that's the reason you run at a good school for running if you do run, but also you want to choose a school, that's good academically so you can do well after. Um, like even if you go pro in running, you're not probably like unless you're the best in the world, which is there's only one of those in the world. You're probably not going to make your living off of running. You're probably going to have to work another job. So it's important to get a school thing in. But I would love to go pro. I would love nothing more than go pro. That's a long way away. It's a long way away. We'll see. A lot of things will change by the time that that age. So maybe I don't want to run anymore at all. So we'll see.
So I feel like a great example of how you're saying like pro runners don't make much money, like they don't, is like Tin Man Elite because it's like 7 guys and they just have like one house. Like
Yeah, and when you
like
think
it's
about it,
changed a bit from a while back. Like Reed Fisher moved out and stuff like that, but it's
yeah,
still
it's the Timon guys also probably make a lot more money because they
because
have like
the influence, like the
yeah, exactly. They have such a big influence. Like Adidas has a steal working with them, and yeah, so it's interesting to think what the other guys make if they're
yeah.
all in the same house. But I think they also enjoy living in the same house. That'd be my take on it. I don't know.
Okay.
Hopefully they enjoy. Hopefully they're not really like
Yeah.
living on the edge with the money, but you hate to see that.
So I don't have any more questions for you, but if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yeah, are you a Nike or Adidas guy? Start with that.
Nike. I haven't tried. I've never tried an Adidas shoe, but I definitely want to. But as right now, Nike.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. What about like, what's your favorite? Okay, here's a good question. I was talking about this with my coach the other day. We were kind of debating this. Who's the best American distance runner of all time?
Ooh, that's a tough question.
It
I feel like
is.
Jalen Rupp. He's got to be up there.
He's
Ryan
definitely there.
Hall.
Yeah, Ryan Hall. That's a good one. Yeah,
I feel
Ryan
like
Hall's.
I'd either have to go with Jalen Rupp or Ryan Hall. How about you? Like who do
Yeah.
you think
So
is the best?
if I were to rank them, I think a lot of people would rank Centrowitz really high, but I think like
He fell off, in my opinion. Like he was,
he's
he was,
making a comeback this year. He's making a comeback. It'll be
yeah,
cool to watch. But I like Centro. I don't like that argument that he got in with the Oregon guys
yeah.
that one year, which is kind of interesting. But I do like Centro. But I'd put my number one. This is with like an asterisk is Bernard Lagat. So he ran with
Oh,
Kenya
that's a great
for most
answer.
of his career. But then he became an American citizen,
Hmm.
and he still broke a ton of records when he was an American citizen. So I put him in number one. Personally, I really like Galen. Like Galen's probably one of my
Yeah.
Jakob's getting close, but Galen's my favorite runner, for
Mhm.
sure. And Jakob just because I can't even I don't know have any connection to Jakob. I just like watching him run fast. To be honest, he runs hard. Jakob like pushes from the start, which I like. Um,
Mhm.
makes it fast. So that's kind of cool to watch. But I put Galen number two. Number three, I think I hadn't even thought of Ryan Hall. I think Ryan Hall would definitely be a good number three. So you're
I
spot
feel
on.
like Jim Ryan would be up there too.
Yeah, Jim Ryan definitely. He was especially his time. Jim Ryan got the world record, correct? Am I correct on that?
Um,
I think at
I'm
one
not
point.
sure. I think it was for just not for long though. I don't think.
Yeah, I think at one point he held the world record. So he's got to be in the top five. And then like it or not, Centrowitz did win a gold medal. So
Yeah.
definitely like I'd say top seven. But there's some good guys that you don't think of. If I looked it up, I got to put together a good list. But all right,
I mean, so that's all from me. But thank you so much for joining me tonight, and good luck with your running in the next 2 years of high school and maybe college if you end up wanting to run in college.
yeah, thanks. Good luck with your running too. I know you do
Yeah.
triathlons, right? So
Yes.
which one's better, triathlons or running?
Um, I have to say running because my favorite part of triathlon is running.
Yeah.
So,
What
yeah.
about what's that triathlete? He has like a YouTube channel. Is it Morgan Pearson? Is that his
Oh yeah,
name?
Morgan Pearson. He's
I
probably my
just
favorite like overall athlete right now
yeah, he's
because he's a great runner too.
he is
He
he's so
ran
fast.
for Boulder.
it's crazy watching those guys run. It's
Mhm.
like, man, they're like smoking me. It's crazy.
Like
They're so fast.
they'll swim, bike, and then drop like full 40 miles for like 10K.
Yeah. So they're impressive. But yeah, good luck with that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me on. It's been
Okay.
fun.
Hope to talk to you soon. Bye.
Yeah. I'll see you. Bye.